Joining us now live from Santiago, Chile via Skype is freelance journalist Cecilia Lagos. Cecilia, good morning to you. Let's get the very latest from your vantage point. What are you seeing and what did you feel earlier today?
Well, good afternoon here. It's 1:10 p.m. here in Chile, and this whole thing happened at our time. It was 3:30 a.m. in the morning. I was sleeping, as most of us, of course, here in the country, and all of a sudden I started feeling this tremor, and since we are really used to tremors because this is a land of earthquakes, just as the Central America is a land of hurricanes and tornadoes, an example, this is a land of earthquakes and tremors. So I just said to myself, okay, I'm not going to do anything until it gets really serious. And well, it did get serious, but I still was laying in bed. I was just so shocked because I was totally paralyzed. I didn't really know what to do because I was expecting all of a sudden, seeing my neighbor maybe getting through from the roof to my floor or whatever. It was so intense, and I was seeing the sky changing colors, and it was really sort of apocalypse now thing.
So Cecilia, that sounds pretty frightening, but was it a sharp jolt or did it just sort of build, and how long did this last?
Well, I've been discussing the duration, the lasting of the earthquake, because for me it was sort of short, maybe no more than 40 seconds or so, especially the more intense part, probably half a minute, as I said, no more than 40 seconds, but the whole thing, which starts really soft and ends really soft, lasted 3 whole minutes. So it was, for me, it was kind of quick, not really that quick, but it was quicker and faster, or maybe it was shorter than the previous earthquake we had 25 years ago, because on March the 3rd we are having 25 years since the last really big one, but it wasn't as big as this one that we had last time.
And when you look outside your window, Cecilia, how much damage do you see? Is it buildings that have been flattened? Is it just glass broken? Are structures appearing to stand normally? I mean, are you still in your apartment right now?
Yes, I'm still in my apartment. I'm having some home issues with my fridge, and because I didn't have power until maybe a couple of hours ago, so it was defrosting and everything, and I am still having no water, and I've been recovering the services one by one. And what I see through my window is, first of all, a thick, dense sort of a smoke cloud, which is a product of a chemical fire that's happening in the north part of Santiago, and it's really acrid and it's really bothering. It's quite like the same sensation that we had in New York when we experienced 9/11, because I was living there, so I can absolutely relate to that, and I can make the comparison, the kind of cloud and the kind of smell and the kind of sensation. That first of all, and then, well, in terms of destruction and devastation in this area in Santiago, the earthquake hasn't done much damage because I think the architecture it's been more modern, but I do see the top of a church with the cross leaning on one side, about to fall.
Okay, so how about people out on the streets? I know that it's been, 10 hours, so you've been able to look and see. Did people rush out into the streets? Did you do that? And what are people doing now?
Well, right now I see lots of cars, probably people moving from one point of the city to another to check out on their relatives and loved ones. And, well, last night I was sort of, stunned and shocked that I didn't know really what to do. I was trying to see, first of all, I felt that the building had been, moved at the point that it was leaning on one side, because I felt myself that I was unbalanced. I felt like going from one side to another, probably as a product of the really violent movement. But then I realized that it was everything okay. We have some cracks here. And then I went down just to check out, and all the people was on the street trying to listen to the radio with battery powered transistors and everything. We had blackouts. We had no water. We have absolutely no services, basic services at all. We just covered them a few hours ago, and not all the city, only some parts of the city have recovered the services. All the rest are still with no power or no internet or no water.
And
yet, no water.
You know, Cecilia, I'm looking at you as you broadcast live for us via Skype, and there is absolutely no delay. The picture is crystal clear, so we're very fortunate about that. Cecilia, is it possible for you to turn your camera to your window and give us a look outside your window of what it looks like? If it's not, fine, but can you try to do that?
Yes, I will try. It's a bit bright because we're here in summer, and behind that cloud I was telling you, we have the sun, so it's sort of white. I don't know if you can see something.
Yes, no, we're seeing. We are definitely seeing. We're seeing an apartment building across the way there. It looks to be in good standing.
I don't know if you can see. I can really there you can see. Maybe it's a bit too far for the camera, for the web camera, but maybe you can see the top of the church. I can really see it clearly and close here. It's leaning on one side, the cross.
We can see that. We can see that. It's dead center in the picture there. It's hard to make out the direction of the cross leaning, but you can, if you look at it and compare it to the tree from which the top of that church spire rises, you can see it definitely is at a tilt. It is not coming out straight there. We see some other, it looks like towers there in the distance on the left. Those are standing.
Towers in construction, towers under construction. Those constructions appear to be safe and sound. They have no, seemingly damage. And well, I'm trying to see here, and this part of the city got really lucky. I think so. But some other older parts of the city really didn't, and they have just fallen apart. Some really old buildings that they could make it 25 years ago with the first earthquake, but this was much more strong. I mean, much stronger, so they really collapsed.
You know, Cecilia, you talked about the cars down there on the street that seem to be moving along. Does it look like relatively normal traffic? I mean, would it be crowded at this time of day, 1:15 in the afternoon on a Saturday? Are you seeing a fairly consistent flow of cars?
Yes, it's consistent. It's maybe one at a second, or maybe one every 2 seconds, or something like that. Last night last night was the same. So last night at 4 a.m. was the same thing. And this is a Saturday morning.
Yes.
People is supposed to be gathering with their families and having lunch in family. But this time, of course, I mean, probably they're still having lunch with their families, but they're moving just to check out on their relatives because they want to make sure they're doing okay.
Yeah, understandably so. Well, apparently the roads there in Santiago are faring a little bit better than those in Concepcion, which is just 70 miles from the epicenter, about 220 miles south of where you are right now. So we know that the president of the country has asked people to stay off the roads there in Concepcion to allow for emergency vehicles to access the places they need to get to.
Yes, the thing is that the Concepcion was really close to the center, to the core of the earthquake. So if we felt it as an 8 Richter earthquake, they felt it as a 8.5, if I'm not mistaken. So it was really absolutely devastating. The streets are totally broken. Some 15-story buildings have collapsed totally, like they were accordions. You see that the destruction there in the south is much bigger and much stronger, intense. Here in Santiago, some parts, as I said, we've got lucky and some others don't, but the real devastation in Santiago is more located on the downtown, on the center, the older part. This is like a sort of newer part.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, journalist Cecilia Lagos, outstanding reporting for us, and we are going to check back in with you again. Feel free to let us know if there's some changes there to the environment or if there are any significant aftershocks. We'll keep our fingers crossed that nothing there is too precarious in the Santiago, Chile region. Cecilia, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for calling.